We have been looking at this one question. What do you do when there's nothing you can do? And we've kind of said that we've all been there. We've all had that time in our life. Maybe you're there now that you're just like, there's nothing I can do about it. You know, here's where I am. I'm just going to have to deal with it. Common phrase in the secular world is, it is what it is. And that's kind of okay as long as you've got a good foundation to fall back on. It's not a throw your hands up in the air. It's not a, oh, poor pitiful me kind of thing. It is what it is. So when you find yourself there, whether it was a doctor made a phone call and told you something, and now you're like, okay, here's where we are. Or you get a call of some sort from anybody that kind of throws you off guard. Or relationally, someone sits across a table from you and announces something about your relationship. There's not really anything you can do about it. You're not going to run from it. You're not going to divorce. It's just not going to be like it was. And you don't know what to do about that. It's kind of weird. Whatever it is, we're talking about that thing. What do you now do when there's nothing you can actually do? We put 3 things on the board, and this is kind of how we were. This is the attitude that we're at. Usually when this happens is I'll never be happy again. You know, it's kind of like I had my life, now this has happened, and now it's going to be so different that I'll never be happy again. Or it was good, and now this has happened. It's like this pivotal moment. Nothing good can come from this. It was going to be good, but now I can't see it. And then there's no point in continuing. And what I mean by that is not necessarily suicide, but some people go that far. But more importantly, it's more about you going, there's no really point in me believing anymore. There's no point in me praying anymore. It's not doing me any good. You know, I haven't seen any results from it. I was doing fine, kind of this happened, and look, I was doing so good, and then this, and so there's no point in really continuing this life that everybody talks about. So that's kind of where we were. And then, if you've ever met anyone, has anyone ever been this? Think about this for just a minute. That you were like this, and then you met someone whose story trumped your story. Like their problem was worse than your problem. And they actually survived. They actually kind of came out of it. And when they came out of it, they were better. And you looked at their life and you were like, well, maybe I will. Okay, maybe. See, those people are inspirations. What we're going to look at today is that they have a quality. There's a word that they have. There's a word that they've done that got them through it that you have to do. Today I'm going to give you a formula. We all like formulas, right? What to do? So you're going to get your pen and paper out. I'm going to give you a formula on how to make it through this, how to come out better, how to inspire others as you're doing it, and bring honor to God all at the same time. I mean, it's a huge formula. Are you ready? Here it is. One simple thing. Believe. It's the word. It's the word that comes up over and over and over in the New Testament. It is used in multiple contexts, but primarily for what we're looking at today, it's used over 100 times. Jesus spoke directly about it. Every disciple spoke something about it, and it is the primary formula to do what we've attempted to do, what we've been talking about doing. When you're content in the middle of it, now to come out of it as you get through it, to process through the entire ordeal, believe is the answer. And believe actually gives you something. We're going to look in the Bible. It's going to tell us exactly what you get when you believe, and it's something you've all tried to get to, something you've all tried to attain, but you've never really been able to do it, and you've always wondered, what should I be able to do to get there? This is what you're going to have to do. Before you answer, well, believe in what? Don't just say God. Okay, that's too easy. Believing in God got you to salvation. That's different. Okay, it's a different belief. Kind of the same belief, just applied differently. Because for you and I, it's easy to lose focus when we see the things in our life that aren't going on. We don't pay attention to the things that are going on. You ever notice that? That bad things take precedence over good things? It's kind of like things are going good, boom, something bad happens, you forget about all the good stuff and you focus all of your energy onto the bad thing. And you just pour and pour and pour and pour energy into the bad stuff, and you lose focus about what's going on around you that God is actually doing, or the things that you are now taking for granted just because of this one thing. And one thing you can't ever forget is that the people that brought us this whole story, from cover to cover in the Bible, all the New Testament writers, all the people who believe the New Testament writers, and all the people who carried the church message forward are not immune to this adversity thing we're talking about. They understood the problem. They had problems. They dealt with those problems. There was never, ever a disconnect in their time to there being a good God and bad things happening. That wasn't until modern day. I'm not so sure that it wasn't just in the West that we started getting into Christianity and we started telling people that things are going to be rosy as long as you follow God. Then people started following God, found out that things weren't rosy, and then started to doubt God. So it was the Christian's fault that this is like it is. And you are like you are. Because you were made some promise. Oh, you want your life to be better. Listen, you just need Jesus. And you mean well. It's true. You need Jesus, but not to make your life better. It's a byproduct. You need Jesus, and there needs to be a period after it. Bink. And then everything else that happens is common. That's normal. But you believe this lie or this fact that your life is messed up if you just finding Jesus makes the life better. Not true. You believe that, I'll introduce you to a whole lot of Christians who believe in Jesus and have some tough times in their life. If that were the case, listen, you'd have no problem selling this Jesus thing to the planet if being a Christian took away all the problems. So the trick is what you've got to do, how you deal with the problems as it relates to a witness to other people and brings honor to God. That's what we're talking about today. Taking your adversity and now turn it around to all people. Not all, A-W-E, all of them with your faith. And to bring multiple layers of honor to God, because that's what this whole thing is after. That's what we're after. That's what it's all about. So let's look. Okay, so we got believe, and that's what we're going to look at because that's what we're commanded to do. If you read about believe, you're usually told to believe. And we're told today, believe especially when things aren't going well. Because naturally, you won't do this. You wouldn't. Did you know that everything you're told to do, all the commandments you're told to do are counterintuitive? They're not normal. You're not going to act like a Christian accidentally. Okay? You're just not. You have to physically, consciously make the decision to be one and to follow Christ. It's just not going to happen. No, you're not going to look at anybody's life and go, man, you kind of look like a Christian. That's weird, you know? Do you know who Jesus is? No, I'm just like this. It's just not going to happen, okay? It's just not going to happen. So the things that you're told to do as a Christian, they're commandments, and they're not natural. So whenever something bad happens, the last thing you do is believe. That's just normal. When an adversity comes across your way, you don't just stop and believe. You don't just stop and go, oh, like we talked about a few weeks ago, oh, this will be good. I'm content right here. This is awesome. Not naturally. You normally throw things. How many of y'all throw things the minute the adversity is announced? Okay, thank you. Some of y'all are liars. Okay, how many liars in the room? Okay, you're just afraid. How many of you cuss? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we don't have any Sunday school language here at Beach Baptist. Most of y'all don't know Sunday school language, so it's okay. We kind of get past you and ignore you. But yeah, as soon as adversity happens, you just and you say it, whatever your choice word is. But naturally, you don't just immediately switch into, oh, thank you for telling me. This is going to be awesome. Yeah, can't wait to see what God's doing. Love you. Click. It's just not going to happen. We're going to look at a guy. His name is James. He had a really famous brother. Y'all know who he is? Y'all are smart over here. Not so much. That was an easy one. It's going to get a little harder from here on out. Okay. We're going to look at, he had a famous brother. His name was Jesus. But funny thing about James, he didn't come onto the planet, didn't even come into the story till after Jesus was resurrected. Jesus actually distanced himself from his primary family in the beginning. Is it hot in here or is it just me? It's like, well, half of y'all pointed at me? Women, I know you didn't point at me. Y'all are hot, right? Nobody? He's hot. Good. It's hot in here. Feet are sweating. He didn't even come onto the story till after Jesus was resurrected. Jesus distanced himself from his whole family. You don't hear about him at all. It wasn't until after Jesus was gone and came back that James even looked and was like, wow, my brother is it. How many of y'all's brothers are going to say that about you? Or is it? Mine wouldn't. Nobody. Nobody. We tease about that all the time. That's the running joke. What would it take for your brother to go, yeah, you're the Son of God? James came to that conclusion. These were real men, just real guys growing up together. And James comes to the conclusion that Jesus is his Lord. His brother is his Lord. That's tough. And what James is going to tell you, I'll never tell you. I couldn't tell you. What James is going to tell us about what's going on in your life, if I had this as my counseling session, you would sit down across from me, I would tell you what James told you, and you would go, is that all you got? Come on, I would get really lonely because it would soon get out. Don't go to Pastor Sean. Here's what he's going to tell you. He really stinks at counseling. But James is going to tell you something, and you've all heard it. You didn't ever kind of thought about it in this context, I promise. He's going to tell you something. He can get away with it. His brother was Jesus. And he wrote this thing 2,000 years ago. And it survived. We talked about Paul's one letter. This is James's one letter that James wrote. And it survived all these years. You're holding in your hand. This freaks me out. Maybe it doesn't freak you out. Freaks me out that you can read something that a guy wrote that was the brother of Jesus 2,000 some odd years ago. He wrote it, and you've got a copy of it in your hand. That's freaking ridiculous. Okay, that's all I'm going to tell you. It's just ridiculous. Do you ever think about that when you're reading it? When you're holding it? No, it's not his paper, but it's his words. The brother of Jesus wrote some words, and you can read them. That's just crazy. But I'm weird like that. I told you, Wanda. I'm weird like that. That's it. That's just extraordinary, but I don't care. So here we go. James comes to the conclusion that Jesus, his brother, was his Lord. And here's what he writes. James chapter 1, verse 1. He's talking to people who are in the midst of these trying moments. He's been there. He's been taking tons of grief. Can you imagine if you were Jesus' brother and Jesus had just been crucified? Not everybody likes Jesus, okay? He's not as popular as he is today. James is taking this same stuff that he was taking. So James, a servant of God and of the Lord Jesus Christ, my brother, the Lord Jesus Christ. And I'm writing this to all of you, you 12 tribes. He's talking to all Christians who's now been scattered. Okay, it all kind of started in Jerusalem. They've kind of been scattered out. And so all these tribes that are now represented, that are out among the nations, out doing this work, out spreading the gospel, out trying to live this life. He's talking to you people, me people. You've now been scattered. We don't live in Jerusalem. You knew that, right? You're not in Jerusalem. Okay, so you've been scattered. You. What's he say? In verse 2, consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds. You've kind of read that. Sure you have. But look at this. Joy, consider it pure joy. I want you to consider it. It is possible, okay, that what you're going through should be considered as good. The word face is actually a Greek word that means surprise. You would actually use it when you're talking about a burglary, a shipwreck, something that catches you off guard. The phone rings. You get it. Your heart stops. You just faced something. That's the same word. That's what he's talking about. So when something comes and catches you by surprise, just for a minute, stop and consider that it's good. Consider that just try. And consider. Remember, I'm not telling you this. This is what James is telling you. I've tried this. I've tried to tell you, and you tell me this bad news. You should think about it as joy. You don't like that story, okay? But James can tell you this, because this is where you normally go. If you read that, you read that, you sure you do, and you're like, good idea, but nah, not really going to do that. Am I right? How many of y'all? Imagine yourself calling me, telling me bad news, and me telling you, well, you might just want to start considering it joy. That's right. That's what I'm saying. See, you read that and you're like, nope, not going to do it. Not going to do it. Now, you may not admit it. You're not going to stand up and go, I'm not doing that. But you're really not going to do that. You don't want to. Naturally, you don't. Remember, you want to throw. You want to cuss. You want to fuss at me for telling you what James said or whatever. But James says, I just want you to, okay, stop a minute. Just chill out. Just imagine. You get this bad news. It catches you off guard. Just take a minute and consider it, that it could be God doing something good. James is saying, I want you to take a different mindset. I just want you to think about things a little different. When you're faced with adversity, I want you to consider it as a source of something good. I just want you to change the way you're thinking about it. Bad news hits you. Think about it as something good. I will give you a cheesy example. This is really cheesy because you're going to go, well, my problems are much worse than that. Okay, so the fire department likes to come and tell us what we've done wrong on our campus. I mean, I think he gets paid per bad deal. Okay, so if he finds 100 things, he gets $100. I don't know. So he comes on our property. He wrote 19 pages again this year. He already wrote 19 pages last year. 19 pages of the problems. Now I've just been studying this whole thing. Okay, he hands me his thing. And he says, "Sign right here," and he's smiling the whole time, like he's having the greatest time in his life. And he's a really good guy. You can't hate him. I've tried. And I'm just signing it, and he's like, hey, man, see ya. Let me know when you get these things done. Have a good day. And I'm like, okay, how am I going to count this as joy? So I thought, it's a good time for Dave to volunteer on the campus. I found good. I found good there, okay? I found joy. He's going to be able to spend more time. I get to hang out with Dave. I was grasping at straws. I understand, okay? But not because of Dave, but just because it's hard. It's hard. Because you really want to go, you know what, you're an idiot. I'm just, whatever. Now, I know your stories are probably much bigger than that. I mean, you've gotten phone calls or you've gotten different ideas. So I wanted to keep the mood light a little bit. But you take it and you extrapolate it to whatever adverse problem we're talking about. He doesn't say consider it joy as long as the problem's not really big, or as long as it's not really life or death. I mean, you understand that what he's talking about is life and death for them. We just saw Paul talking about the same thing. So they automatically go to the big stuff. Okay, he's talking to people who've been threatened with their life. Consider it possibly joy. Consider it possibly just something good that God is doing in your life. Just change the way you're looking at it. When they come and knock on your door and they go, are you a Christian? And now you're tempted. Just consider it joy they knocked on your door. Consider it as an option that God is doing something good in your life. You don't understand it. James is going to say, I totally agree. He's going to show it. I totally agree. You might not understand it, but that's okay. He's going to give us a way to kind of figure it out. Because I know you're out there and you're like, come on, let me tell you my story and you'll change your sermon. James will go, no, hold on. Just hold on. Just stop and consider it. Stop and consider it. Then he says, what does he say next? I don't even know. Spiritual, my brothers and sisters, know your faith, try me. Because you know that the testing of your faith, hold on. He's saying what you already know. He says, you know that these trials test your faith. You know that. As soon as a trial hits you, as soon as something bad comes, your faith gets tested. What James is saying is what you already know, trials put your faith on trial. Trials put God on trial in your mind. As soon as something happens, you're like, oh man, do I have the faith to do? I don't know if I can get there. I don't know if I can find joy. I'm looking for joy, but I can't find joy. I'm trying. See, your faith gets tested. Your faith gets on trial. James says you know that. And you do know that. You've done it. As soon as something bad happens, you put your faith on trial. Because you look back right now and you're like, oh, man, I had a hiccup in my faith on that one. I can remember the time that I can remember when I was told, and as soon as it happened, I just was like, wow, God surely left me on that one. God let me down there. Man, I had it all figured out, thought I was right on God's path, and then boom, I remember. And you think about it, and you're like, man, it tested my faith. And some of you are like, it tested my faith, and I failed. Right? How many of y'all say that? That's okay. We all did it. Yeah. The rest of y'all are still lying. I should have done the 10 Commandments today. But he says, so when something terrible so here's what James says. Something terrible takes you by surprise. I want you to consider it as being possibly something good. Just stop and consider it. Just make that your first thought. You're not going to do it naturally. You have to tell yourself to do it. You have to make yourself do it. As soon as you get the call, you have to go, Could be, okay. Breathe. Could be something good. Could be. I know it doesn't look like good. There's no way, man. Could be something good. Change it. Manipulate it. Really, manipulate your thinking. Stop the way you are. See, trials make you go, really? I thought I was a pretty strong Christian. I thought I had it right. And then this happens. I thought I was pretty good. See, James knows this. James knows, can you believe? Can you still believe? Is it possible for you? Will you? James is asking now, will you believe? Because something happens, will you go on and believe? Trials test your confidence in God. James knows that. And so do you. You don't want to admit it. You don't want to say, yeah, I'm not really confident God's in control as soon as the trials happen. But that's exactly what you're saying. At the end of verse 3, he says this. Produces perseverance. Faith gets tested. That's true. Now, James is saying as soon as that happens, perseverance is produced. So the test produces perseverance. Now you're saying, I don't want perseverance. I mean, if that's what it produces, just take away the test. I don't really need to persevere, right? We don't want to persevere. We do not want to persevere. Just be honest. You do not want to persevere. You want it to stop. You want the problem to go away. You want things to get better immediately. You do not want to persevere. But James is saying this testing of your faith is producing perseverance. To which you say, so what? That means God still has the option. Just take it away. Keep your perseverance. Give it to somebody else. Give it to those strong Christians, right? How many of you would say, I'd rather the mature Christians keep the perseverance? Wouldn't you? Yeah. Now, I want to get mature, right? Wouldn't you? When you want to get mature? Good. I just set you up. You didn't even know it. See, I was sneaky. I'm getting better. Sneaky. But here's what we know about the direct teaching of Jesus, and the air came on, didn't it? Okay, well, you have to argue with the computer because it's all automatic. Okay, somebody turn it up. Morgan did it. Here's what we know about the lives of the apostles and the direct teaching of Jesus. That God is honored. God is honored by persevering faith. He just is. Hey, okay, here's the deal. Faith that always gets a yes from God, you know, the one that says, I lost my job today. I'm going to pray and fast. Wednesday, I got a new job. Ha-ha! That's not honoring to God. That's like magic, hocus pocus stuff. I mean, it's good. Don't throw that out. Because here's why I believe that. If I tell you that I had a problem, I prayed, it got fixed. I had another problem, I prayed, it got fixed. You start writing things down. What did you do? See, you fall in love with the process. You fall in love with the formula. Oh, you went on a retreat. Oh, then I'm going on a retreat. Oh, you started going to Bible study? Oh, I'm going to Bible study. And then you do the things that I do, and you try to get the same results that I got. Problem. Doesn't happen. You don't get the same results I got. So you drop out of Bible studies now. You stop coming to church as often now. You weren't getting the desired results you wanted, even though you were following a proven pattern of somebody else's life. You actually start praying less. Yeah, you only started praying because you wanted something, so you automatically stopped praying whenever you stopped getting what you wanted. Instead, you should fall in love with the guy behind all of this, God himself, not the process. Then the process comes along in your heart. Because you fell in love with God, you automatically pray more. Because you fell in love with God, you automatically come to church more. You automatically go to Bible studies. This persevering faith, this stuff that doesn't just pop out stuff, it's not impressive. Because you look back at somebody's life who's told you that, then you've tried it and it didn't work, you're no longer impressed with them. You're like, I can't have that. So what? Keep it. I tried it, didn't work. That is not what honors God the most. The faith that's impressive is the one that gets the no from God or the no answer from God and believes anyway. That's the impressive faith. That's it. Because you see, I think God would say, you know what, that's not honoring to me. What honors me is the fact that you've got a faith anyway. You don't know what's going on. You're not getting all the things. You're not getting everything you want. I mean, if you gave every kid if you gave your kids everything they wanted, what would you call them? Yeah, and yet you walk around whining and crying to God. Oh, this is what I want. This is what I want. This is what I want. Why you not give me what I want? Well, maybe God's saying, because I don't want to spoil you. To which you say, come on, just try it. Spoil me. I promise I'll be good. You sound just like your kids, right? I'll never ask for another thing. I promise. If you just give me this one thing. This is all I need. Makes me all better. If you give me one thing. Just one thing. Please. 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 Start sounding like your kids. Please. 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 If he just did that, he would not get honor. And nobody would look at you and go, man, you've got some amazing faith. No, they look at you and go, you got an amazing prayer life. I want one just like it. Not cool. Not cool. God is honored by persevering faith. James says, okay, before you throw your Bible away, when things start going bad, before you give up on prayer, before you give up on God, it is possible that God is up to something good, and that something good is persevering faith that's most honoring Him. And that's quite possible what God is doing. I just want you to consider that, James says. Like I said, you and I don't want persevering faith. But that's what's most honoring to God. Trials produce persevering faith. Now, James gets to the first imperative, kind of James' first point, main point, what he's trying to drive home. First part of verse 4, he says, let perseverance finish its work. Let it finish. Okay, so you already told me I got to persevere, and now you got to wait for perseverance to finish. I thought it was kind of the same thing. No, James is saying you can run, you can cry, you can holler, you can scream, you can get drunk, you can get high, you can do all those things. But if you, hold on, instead, hear me out, James would say, let perseverance finish its work. Let it finish for a bit. Just wait. God is up to something. He's building the kind of faith that honors Him the most and awes others the most around you. Let it finish. Don't hit the eject button. Don't get out. Don't try to run. Stay the course. Hold on. Persevere. Just let it finish. Try it. Let's see, look, the tensions in your life. You know what those are. The thing you're praying for the most. The thing you're trying to get God to do for you the most. That's the tension. Okay? Could be the focal point of what God is doing in your life. Could be the focal point of what God is doing to build a persevering faith that honors Him the most. It could be that way. I read on Facebook just this week, somebody, and they're a Christian, and they put out there, if you pray to whoever you pray to, whatever it is you pray for X. I mean, that's kind of how we are. When we've got something in our life that we want changed, we don't develop persevering faith. We don't even look for it to develop persevering faith in us. We call on everybody to make it change. And for a Christian to call out to people who are praying to rocks is crazy. But you do that. I've heard Christians put their arms around people and go, listen, I don't know if you pray or not, but if you would just start. I need this, and I need somebody to help me get it. You know, like, the more people, we've got petition mentality. We got something in our life we want changed, so we're going to get everybody to sign the petition and then take that petition to God. We read that verse, take your cares and petition. We thought that meant get everybody to sign on with us. And if we all pray, then God's going to go, fine. You're right. Okay, good deal. I had a better plan, but you know what? That's what you want. Cool. Enough of you are crying. We'll have it. I mean, when you start to think about it that way, you start to see how crazy we are. And we're crazy. Not just me. It's you too. I mean, the only thing crazier would be if I could have made you pay to get in here. That would have been crazy, right, Robert? That would have been crazy. Not from me. That would have been you crazy. That's crazy. Instead, James says, why don't, instead of like, stop it, God, make it go away. Maybe just for a minute consider that he knows what he's doing and might actually have something good planned out of it. And could that good plan be that your faith gets to be a persevering faith that's going to bring so much more honor to him that people are going to be better off because you've gone through something bad? Ouch. You mean my life's not about me? You mean it's possible that my life is so that others can see God? And I got to go through something bad in an effort to bring honor to him? Nah, I don't want that. James says, how about just consider it maybe that that's what he's after. That's what he's after. You know your prayer life will change if this happens. You know that your church attendance will change when this happens. When you consider it, you actually get more fervent. You actually get a little fanatical about God. It actually doesn't make you pray less. It makes you pray more. It just makes you pray different. It doesn't make you come to church less. It makes you come to church more for a different purpose. You want to get closer to this God who's giving you comfort. You want to get closer to this God who's persevering faith building in you, that you're waiting for this work to finish. So you want to get as close as you can. That's what he's after. James says, consider it. That's quite possibly what he's doing. This thing is in the epicenter of God's activity in your life if you allow it to be. See, we said that about Paul. Put it out there. You've got something wrong with you, put it out there. Let that persevere through you. Let that build a persevering faith that will honor God. Own it. Don't hide. Don't run. One more thing. Some of you had this. You had your faith, had that bump, you hit the eject button. You abandoned God, the Bible, the church, everything because something had happened. But listen, let's be honest. It didn't make anything better. Many of us have actually tried this. Pull away from God when something bad happens and pour all your energy into fixing it. And whatever it is, I haven't had time. I know I used to serve a lot and I used to be here. I was really on fire for God, but then this happened and I really, I had to put a lot of energy in that, I've got to get back in there. Do you know the story I've never heard? Yeah, things were going really good. This bad thing happened, so I abandoned God, and you cannot imagine how good life got. Never. That may be out there. I understand exceptions and rules and all that stuff, but I've never heard it. No one's ever said, you know what, I really get that Bible, threw it away. And since then, I've become more compassionate. My relationships got better. You know, I've got more money. Man, best thing I've ever done, throw that thing away. No one's ever said it. Typically, the story comes back, I ran away from God, and things really went downhill from there. And I wish I'd have never done it. I wish I'd have never pulled away. I wish I'd have never stopped talking to him. I wish I'd have never stopped trusting him. I wish. James is saying, listen, don't beat yourself up, but from now on, let perseverance finish its work. Because at the end of it, your persevering faith will bring honor to God and leave you in a better place. The rest of verse 4. So that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. 2 words there that you don't get. Cool word play that's in Greek but not in English. Let perseverance finish is the exact same word as complete. Really says, let perseverance complete you. Let perseverance complete so that you can be complete. Same word. Let it finish out so that you can be complete. So how many of y'all want to be a mature Christian? Anybody? Well, yeah, absolutely. We all want to be a mature Christian. Guess what? He just gave you the formula. Persevere, and you'll be mature. Wait. Can I just learn some more Bible verses? You can, but it won't make you mature. It'll make you smart, but not mature. Can I just follow all the 10 commandments? I'll even go, how about if I follow 50 of them commandments? 10 that God wrote and 40 that man wrote. Will that be okay? Can I do that? Well, it'll make you obedient, but it won't make you mature. The only place you're going to find in the Bible that your faith gets made mature is if you allow perseverance to finish its work. The only place where you're told how to be mature. Paul refers to mature Christians, and you've all read that, and you're like, I'd like to be one of those guys. James says, here's how. Quit crying about your trials, and maybe consider for a minute that God knows what he's doing, and that what he's doing is going to actually make you mature by giving you a persevering faith. Really? No sign-ups? I'll take that. No, we're not going to do that. We don't want to. Now how many people want to be mature? See? It's just you all like Jesus. Mature. Here's another way. You know this is right. You don't want to admit it, but you know this is right. There are people you know that are sickeningly perfect. Right? They go to church. They've got everything is like straight, and their kids are like just like polished. I mean, it's almost like they spit shine their kids. Yeah, kind of like y'all there on that road. No, not y'all. No. It's like everything's right in their life, and like you're looking at them and you're like, no, I'd really like to snap your little head off. Yeah, I know you got like this cool faith thing going on, and yeah, your family, I see you all, you're like kumbaya around the outside, and it's like, ugh. Because when you scratch a little deep, you kind of get to know him, and you scratch deep, and you find out, oh, your life's like Little House on the Prairie. It's like perfect. If my life had been perfect, I'd be like you too. Those kind of people. You're like, I know them. But then there's the other guys. There's the guys who tell you their testimony, and they don't use any Sunday school language. None. Because they don't know any Sunday school language. There's actually a curse word in their testimony. Those guys who've climbed the ladder, they've went into the valley, okay, and they've climbed across. God may have actually had them build a house in the valley for a little while, okay, but then they've climbed back out of it, and on the other side of it, they're going, all the way through, I knew God was with me. Never, ever did I take my eyes off of him, and I am so much better for it. Those are the guys you're like, I want to follow you around. I don't want to get it the way you got it, but I want to be like you. And those guys, they'll tell you, this is why. Those guys will say, I would not want to do it again, but I wouldn't trade it for anything because of what I learned. That's persevering faith. Listen, you just met a mature Christian. You just met somebody who, the actual word is perfect, complete. You want to be a perfect Christian? Start making it through your trials and looking at them as God doing something in your life that is good and positive, that's bringing honor and glory to Him, and others around you are going, wow. And you're a mature Christian. You're getting there. But you've got to change the way you pray. You've got to change the way you describe your life to people. How's it going? Sucks. Not going to lie. But I can do it. Because He's going to do it through me. Not, well, I could be better. Not, it's going to be okay. I believe it. See, the mature Christian is like, I don't know if it's going to be okay or not. I don't really care. Because I've kind of got to the point where I'm hoping and knowing that God is doing something good, regardless of what it comes out. And you start clawing your way and climbing your way back to Him. And yeah, your life starts to look better. And people ask, how'd you get here? And you have to say, you might want to sit down. Because it's not pretty. Persevering faith is never pretty. It just can't be. It's ugly. I say it this way. Spiritual maturity is measured in terms of persevering faith, not perfect behavior. That's what spiritual maturity is about. Persevering faith, not perfect behavior. Listen, if you're trying to act right so that people will look at you and go, man, they're a pretty good Christian, they're not gonna. What people want to know is that there's actually a way to get through what they're trying to get through. That's what people want to know. That's what you want to know. You want to know in the midst of this problem you're having right now, you want to know that there's a way out, that you want to know that you can survive, because right now you may not believe you can. You want to know that you can. James is saying you can. And there's people around you, you better hope there's people around you, that have done it, and they've become mature in it, and you can look to them as hope, and you can look at them as honoring me. And you will be spiritually mature too. They've allowed perseverance to finish its work. We're going to jump. We got to, wow. I should have put this into 2 parts, shouldn't I? Okay, James is a realist. He knows you're going to look at that and you're like, I don't know. Let's look at verse 5. We'll probably blow through a little bit. Here we go. Because here's what you got. This is imperative. You got to do this, okay, if it's going to work. If any of you lacks wisdom, because you've read this and you're like, I want wisdom. I'll pray to God and get some wisdom. You should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it'll be given to you. How many of y'all got that printed somewhere? And this is our second most abused verse, probably. No, I don't have that printed. Whatever. This is speaking to you if you're in an adverse situation, if you got a problem, okay? Because since you don't know how to do it, you're not actually going to naturally do it. What James is saying is you find yourself in a problem, you want to look at it from God's perspective, you got to ask for it. This is wisdom, because wisdom in this context means looking at a circumstance within a broader context. Anybody who's dealt with people, if you've ever been a pastor, you know what this is like, because people come up with a problem and you immediately want to go, but you got to look at it from a broader perspective, okay? I pray for that. I do. That's one of my prayers every day, every other day. Usually when somebody tells me I stop and pray for that, okay, give me wisdom. You've all done it. You got a junior high or a high school kid. They've come in, especially if it's a girl, and they've said something like, Johnny picked Melissa over me to go to the dance. My life's over. And you as a parent grab their hand and you're like, it's okay, baby. It's going to be just fine. Now, run along. Good Lord. Give me a middle school problem, would you? You know, that's you looking at their problem from a broader context. You're a little older. You see it. That's what he's saying. You want to look at your problem from a broader context. You immediately want to say, God, I want to see it as you see it. That's what I want. That's wisdom. God show, and here's the promise, he will give it to you. He will give it to you. If, jump. Here's what, but, there's a but. Always a but with James. Why? But when you ask, you have to ask believing. Isn't that what it says next? Yeah, believe. There's your word. Believe. And do not doubt. Don't doubt. Don't doubt what? That God is up to something good. Back at the beginning, it's all one big story. Change your perspective of thinking whenever something bad happens and start to look at it as being something good. And if you can't get there, say, God, I need to see it from your way. I can't see it from my way. I need to see it from your way. And if you believe you can see it from his way, he will let you see it from his way. That's the promise. And then I think he just pokes at Peter. I think the next verse is him jabbing at Peter. Remember Peter? He's the guy that jumped out of the boat, lost his sight. No, go back one. Because the one who doubts is like a wave of the sea blown and tossed about by the wind. I think they had that going on their whole life. Peter and James and Peter, everybody looking at Peter going, yeah, you're the guy that jumped out of the boat like sank because you took your eyes off. And Peter's like, I haven't seen none of you bozos jumping out of the boat. And they'd be like, oh, yeah, good point. And then James would say something, and Peter would go, you weren't even here. And James would be like, oh, good point. But still, you doubted. Remember? You kind of had that doubt thing going on. You're like, doubting Peter. No, that's doubting Thomas. You're doubting Peter too. I think that's how cool the Bible is. That he brings that up and he's like, that's what it's going to be like. You believe and you want, you keep your eye there and you never ever doubt. You say, God is up to something good, and I'm not just saying it because I'm in church. I'm not just saying it so people will think I'm a high-powered spiritual person. I'm saying I believe God is up to something good, and I truly believe God is up to something good. And he's going to create this persevering faith in me that people are going to look at and go, whoa, and God's going to get honored from. And then finish it, because if you don't, this person should not respect anything from the Lord. In the wisdom category. Don't take it out of context. Don't sit there and go, okay, fine. I believe something good's going to happen. Fine. Give me some wisdom, God. That's what you can expect. Crickets. It is truly a change of attitude, a change of heart that happens from within, that you say, God, okay, I'm just going to believe you're up to something good. I need to see it like you see it. And I'm just going to believe what you're saying. You got to believe God is at work in you to mature you. And you've got to hold on to that. And you can't look around. You can't get absorbed in your circumstance. I mean, you can. Not going to do you any good. You must believe that God's at work in you to mature you. Now go choose. Because you're either in the middle of one, getting ready to have one, or just came out of one. And you can either accept God's maturing process or not. I'm not going to force it on you. He'll let you wallow around. He'll let you deal. He'll let you process through those problems. Absolutely. or he'll be there when you ask him. He'll be there when you ask him. Let's all stand and we'll go. For those of us or those of you who are visiting, if you look in the bulletin, there's some things going on this week, some things that are happening. Once you be a part of those, Wednesday night, our family fellowship meal at 5:30 in the back building, followed by Bible study after that. Come and be a part of that. The altar is kind of empty today because this is our first day to collect food for our 20 families for Thanksgiving. What we do is provide a full Thanksgiving dinner from the rolls to the pie for 20 families. So if you'll just start bringing in things that you would have at Thanksgiving dinner and put them up here, we'll separate them into those 20 piles, and then you'll be able to come by and go, oh, well, they didn't have any cranberry sauce. And you'll go get some cranberry sauce, and you'll bring it in. Or they didn't get a pie. We'll put a little note that says there's pie. We won't leave pie sitting out because you all are pie lovers. So pies disappear. Okay. Rolls, people didn't have rolls. So we put it out there, and so then we remember, we'll actually pray for these 20 families, that are going to receive those meals the Sunday before Thanksgiving. And then Craig and team will get those delivered to those families. We meet them, pray with them again, and then make sure they're going to have a Thanksgiving dinner like you're going to have on Thanksgiving. So be in prayer what you can do about what do you want to bring, and just start bringing those out here, just the fixings for Thanksgiving dinner for 20 people. And you don't have to provide for 20. Just bring one thing of cranberry sauce. It's okay. There's enough of us. We can get it done if we try. And then everything else that's going on, I want you to be a part of. Be praying. We're getting ready to start our fundraiser for all the kids' Christmas presents. We're going to do that December the 21st. We're giving away one bicycle to every child on our list this year, up to 90 kids. All the bikes have already been promised, so the bikes are done. Now we will do the rest of the stuff. This is all in honor of Mike DiCarlo, who passed away, that used to do that with our church. So we're just taking that baton and going with it. But be praying about how you can be a part of that. Send us an email. We'll keep you posted on what's going on. And then we're going to go out there, go through those doors, and that's your mission field. And now people are going to look at you. And they want to know what adverse life conditions do to you in your faith. It's time to shine. It's time to shine. Have off tonight. It's a great Sabbath day. Connie, would you pray for us?